Yeah, hi there. These comments are for KA, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. This is your TOEFL online course, and you're actually one of my online students, and you just sent me an email, and I think you also made a post at my Facebook page, and I'm going to answer your questions in this particular video. You say, good evening, Michael. I am KA, one of your students that signed on to your online TOEFL course in the beginning of August, but started with the actual course. You want to say here, in step 1 today. For me, it is so hard as I work full-time, 8 to 4:30 p.m., and it's almost impossible to study more than 3 to 4 hours a day. I remember you sent to me your comment of what I need to do and to follow you on Facebook, but I cannot find it to review it again. Please send it to me if you still have it. So I'm going to just kind of go over and review what you need to do in this video. So you should have a pretty good idea what to do when you're done here. You say, second, my question is, since I got a low score my first, you might say, and my only TOEFL attempt, just good in speaking 24, is it recommended for me to follow the 90-day study guide? I was not sure if I should follow any study guide or not, starting with vocabulary. You say, but to tell the truth, studying just one thing all day or many days will be kind of boring, and your vocabulary step is too long and seems hard. It's hard. And you got to do the work. But if you can learn those 1,700 words, right? What you have to do, it's a methodical process. You have to take the words, KA. You have to put those words onto note cards. And then you start studying the note cards. So think of my vocabulary lessons. It's not just something that you can do in 1 or 2 weeks. You'll probably have to do this over a period of 3 months. So I agree with you that you should not just study vocabulary the whole time. You'll probably burn out, which is why I will recommend the 90-day TOEFL study guide for you. That 90-day TOEFL study guide will give you practice with vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. So each day you work on 2 or 3 different sections of my course on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, so that should reduce your chances of burning out a little bit, right? So in this particular email, I will put my 90-day TOEFL study guide for you in there so you can see what lessons you can focus on a day-to-day basis. But for the vocabulary, you can't skip it, but you can think of it as a long-term project. You want to work on learning the words in the vocabulary part of my course over the next 3 months. Okay, let's see what we have here. You say, am I allowed to post or send you writing, speaking by Vox and pronunciation test? Yes, you are. In fact, here's my basic, what my recommendation for you is you can post 1 practice test each day at my website. And after you do the independent or integrated writing practice test, you want to send me an email. I'm going to send that to my teaching assistant who will score and then contact you with that score after he reads and grades your writing practice test. Now, your pronunciation pre-test and your speaking independent and integrated test, practice test, you should complete those at my VoxyPop discussion group for the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. You can join that group today. How do you find it? You can go to any of my independent or integrated speaking practice tests. Just click on the link, and there it will show you a link to my VoxyPop discussion groups. You want to go there, and number 1, even though you have a password and a username to my online TOEFL course, VoxyPop is a separate website, not directly connected with me. A different company owns that, so you will have to create a different username and a password there, And then you'll have, once you join VoxyPop, then you have to join my particular TOEFL discussion group, and that's when you will start posting your speaking and pronunciation practice test. All right, you say thanks so much. Say, do you grade and correct the writing essays? With your writing, I will grade them. I will give you a score with some basic comments. However, I will not correct all the errors in your writing. At least I won't do that for $38 a month. I do have an additional service. Some students will take advantage of it. For example, you might send me one of your independent writing practice tests and say, okay, Michael, I want you to go through the whole essay and correct all the errors, reorganize, add or delete anything from the essay. Show me, Michael, how I can get a perfect score of 5.5 or 30 points out of 30 on the independent or integrated writing practice test. I can do that. However, it's very costly and it's also time consuming on my part. So my charge to correct all the errors in just one of your essays is a $50 payment you have to send me from PayPal. It's kind of expensive, but think of it this way. If you have me error correct one of your independent and one of your integrated writing practice tests, that would cost $100, but you would get a complete diagnostic of all the problems you're having in those two practice tests, and then you will know which areas of my course you have to focus on more in order to improve the problems that you might be having in your writing. All right, so let's keep going here. So you did make, you have a very busy schedule, right? You're working full time. You're now starting to study for the TOEFL exam. It's too bad that you couldn't have gotten your TOEFL exam done before you started your full-time job. That's usually the better way to do this, because studying for TOEFL is exhausting. It really is. It's time-consuming, exhausting. So there are a few things that you want to try to do now. And my recommendation here is do not sacrifice your sleep for your TOEFL study, because eventually, psychologically, you're going to burn out or you're going to get sick and it's not going to be good. So number one, make sure you're getting about 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. That's a given. Number two, make sure you're eating healthy. This is also important. And also, find time to exercise maybe 3 days a week for about 45 minutes each time. Exercise, sleep, and eating right. This is very, very important because you got a lot going on in your life and you need to have the energy, the mental and the physical energy that you need in order to do your TOEFL study. So if you exercise 3 times a week, maybe a brisk walk, riding a bicycle, or running, this will give you some extra energy that you will need to complete your studies right now. So don't forget that. Now, if you can't do, I think that you said here, you're having trouble doing 3 to 4 hours of study a day, right? Based on your work schedule. So let me give you some recommendations right now. See if you can handle this. If you can't handle, you can cut back 20% in anything that I say here, but you need to be reading every day for about 45 minutes. You want to read magazines, newspapers, and longer books. You also should practice listening every day for about 45 minutes. Now, in both cases, when you're doing the reading and the listening practice, get in the habit of note-taking. You already know this, but you should be taking notes on the reading and the listening passages. Using your notes, I want you to write maybe 3 academic summaries weekly. Each summary should be about 250 words. That's 750 words of writing every week with your TOEFL study. Now, number 2, you should also speak about the reading and the listening passages. Now, when you're speaking, try to speak for about 60 seconds. Remember, you're using your notes to summarize the information by speaking. Record your voice so you can listen to it, critique it. You can check for accuracy, for completeness. You can check for any grammar or vocabulary problems you might be having. You can check your speaking for organization and development. So it's important that you get used to recording your voice, and you're also practicing writing summaries of reading and listening passages. The third thing here is you want to spend about 2 hours a day at my online TOEFL course. Now, if you can't do that, do an hour. You have to do what you can do, right? You're busy. Remember, do not sacrifice your sleep. If you're not getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep because of your TOEFL study, you should reduce your TOEFL study so you're getting those 8 or 9 hours. It's better that you study 1 hour of TOEFL a day with a good fresh mind than study 2 hours of TOEFL a day with a tired mind. Trust me, you'll get much more out of it. Do not sacrifice your sleep. Now, for listening practice, if you need some English websites, I do have 3 suggestions here. National Public Radio, TED Talks, and Randall's Cyber Listening Lab. Now, if you do this, Randall's Cyber Listening Lab, remember the whole purpose here is you're listening to these passages, you're taking down notes, and then you're writing and speaking about the information. This is what you're doing. So you're not just doing listening or reading practice, you're also doing integrated writing and integrated speaking practice. With the Randall Cyber Listening Lab, focus on the difficult lectures and conversations that you see there. And then the National Public Radio and TED Talks, they'll already be hard. They will be appropriate for you. All right, so those are some of my suggestions right now. So let me just kind of recap what I said here. I will recommend my 90-day TOEFL study guide for you, and this will give you practice in different sections of my course each day, so you don't have to worry about just focusing on vocabulary in one day or just focusing on grammar, because I understand what you're saying. You're trying to avoid burnout, and remember that you're also doing some reading and listening in things that you have an interest in, and that should be stimulating to the brain and hopefully not too boring. You see what we're doing? So we're supplementing your regular reading and listening practice. We're supplementing that with maybe 1 to 2 hours of study at my online TOEFL course on a day-to-day basis. Now, one recommendation that I want to give to you is once you think you're ready to take the TOEFL, you can go to my website and you can try out one of my what's called full-length IBT TOEFL practice tests. Let me show you what we're talking about. If you go to my course and you go to right after step 7, I'm not really calling it step 8, I'm just saying full-length TOEFL IBT section-specific tests. It's the last section of my course. You should take a full-length IBT practice test before you take the actual IBT exam. If you do this, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you'll get a score, including all 6 speaking tasks and both of your writing tasks, so you can actually see where you are right now. Then you can make a decision about whether or not you're ready to take the TOEFL IBT exam. The second thing that will happen is you'll get an analysis of your practice exam showing you what your weak points are. And then you can study and use my course to reinforce some of those weak areas, and then you can go take the TOEFL test once you feel you've mastered those problems. So I do recommend that you take a full-length IBT practice test before taking the actual exam. I can't tell you, KA, how many students have wasted $200 paying to take the actual TOEFL exam when they weren't ready. They were not ready to do it. They end up getting a low score. They get frustrated. They feel like they wasted their time and their money, and they probably shouldn't have taken the exam yet. So this helps save you a lot of money, but you still will get an accurate score so you can mark your progress. All right, I think that's just about it. I think I've covered pretty much all of your questions. And I know that you're very excited, you're enthusiastic about reaching your TOEFL goals. As you know, each month, students in my course, they reach their goal. They get 100, they get 80, they get 90, whatever the goal is that they've set. I do have students who reach those goals every month. Not everybody, but a lot of my students do. and you can too. The main thing is just be consistent, be methodical each day, follow the plan, follow my suggestions that I've given you in this video, and this time bookmark the YouTube video. And what you can do is maybe once a week you can go back to this video, you can replay this video maybe once a week or twice a month to remind you of what it is you need to do to reach your goal. Because you can do it. I mean, can you say yes? How about this? Repeat after me. Say, yes, Michael, I can reach my TOEFL score. Say it to yourself. Every morning when you wake up, say, I will reach my TOEFL goals. Every day. Think about that. Stay motivated. All right, anyway, thank you very much for your comments, and all the best to your high-scoring TOEFL success.